I want you to think for a second about the absolute best beginning to a relationship you've ever had. Like, try to really picture it in your head.
Oh, that's a powerful place to start.
Right. I'm talking about the kind of start where you just felt completely, undeniably seen by another human being. Every text was perfectly timed. Every conversation just flowed effortlessly, right into the early hours of the morning.
You basically feel like you're the center of their universe.
Exactly. You have this overwhelming, intoxicating sense of being chosen.
Hmm.
Like, out of everyone in the world, you are suddenly prioritized above everything else in their life. It just feels like pure magic.
It really does. It feels entirely unique to you.
It does. But I want you to hold on to that feeling for just a moment. Because today, we're taking a pretty sharp pivot into a deeply unsettling reality.
We definitely are.
Yeah, because that exact scenario, that perfect, magical, movie-like beginning, is actually often the necessary, calculated first step of a devastating psychological trap.
And that's such a hard thing to wrap your head around because, I mean, it requires a massive shift in how we usually perceive danger.
Right? How so?
Well, biologically and culturally, we're conditioned to think of a threat as something that, presents itself as aggressive or dangerous right out of the gate.
Like a growling dog or sudden loud noise.
Exactly. A harsh comment from a stranger. But the psychological mechanics we're analyzing today, they just flip that entire concept completely upside down.
They really do.
Because the most dangerous threats in human dynamics, they don't start with hostility. They start with an overwhelming display of safety and adoration.
Which is absolutely terrifying when you think about it. So our mission for this deep dive today is to unpack the mechanics of what clinical psychology refers to as the narcissistic cycle.
It's a very specific, documented pattern.
Right. We are going to completely dissect the hidden architecture of this relational trap. We'll track the whole progression, from that intoxicating day one magic through the sudden confusion and all the way to the calculated cold withdrawal.
And the goal here is very practical.
Yes, simple but vital. We want to give you the blueprint so you can learn exactly how to spot this before you get caught in it. And while the subject matter is undeniably heavy, the actual underlying biology of how this works is just absolutely fascinating.
It really is, because the core premise from all the source material we're looking at is that our biggest misconception about a manipulative partner is that they'll hurt you immediately.
Yeah, that they'll show their red flags on date one.
Right. But the chilling truth is they don't. They wait until you are completely hooked, and only then do the mechanics of the trap actually snap shut.
Okay, let's unpack this. We need to look at this not just as like a bad breakup or an emotional roller coaster.
No, we need to look at it as a predictable biological formula. Because when you strip away the romance and the poetry and, well, the eventual heartbreak, what you're really looking at is a tactical operation.
A tactical operation. Wow. That is a heavy way to put it.
But it's accurate. A perpetrator introduces specific variables into an environment to elicit a highly specific physiological response in you, the target.
Okay, so let's start right at day one then.
Yeah,
Because the bait for this trap is the illusion of absolute perfection.
the golden period.
Right. The psychological research points out that the first few months of this cycle feel like the absolute best relationship of your life, bar none. And the tactics, they're surprisingly simple on paper.
Very simple. They text first, often right when you wake up.
Yes. And they remember everything you say, like down to the smallest throwaway comment about your favorite childhood snack or something. They just make you feel uniquely special.
And psychologists refer to this opening phase as love bombing. It's basically a concentrated, overwhelming campaign of affection, attention, and validation.
But wait, hold on. I need to stop you there and push back on this a bit.
Sure, go ahead.
Because I'm thinking about my own life, and I'm sure anyone listening is doing the exact same thing right now. I mean, I remember my partner's favorite obscure band. If I'm excited about someone, I text them first.
Right, of course.
We all do that when we really click with a new person. So am I love bombing? Like, where is the line between just having a really great connected first month and being actively manipulated?
That is probably the most common and important question to ask when we're looking at this behavior.
Because it feels so similar.
It does on the surface.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating here is that the distinction lies in velocity, volume, and boundaries.
Okay, break that down for me.
Well, in healthy dating, there's a natural rhythm of mutual discovery. Two people are revealing themselves, layer by layer over time.
Right, you don't just dump your entire soul on the table on a Tuesday.
Exactly. Trust is built gradually through shared experiences, handling minor disagreements, and just observing how the other person navigates the world.
You maintain your individual lives while slowly merging parts of them.
Yes. But love bombing bypasses all those normal, healthy boundaries by manufacturing a profound, accelerated sense of intimacy.
So it's the speed of it.
The speed and the reflection. The remembering of details isn't just thoughtful in this case. It's utilized to mirror your deepest desires back to you instantly. It creates this false sense of destiny.
Oh, wow. So you feel chosen, not because they've actually taken the time to truly know your flaws and love you anyway.
Right. But because they've rapidly gathered data on what you want to hear,
Yeah.
and they're feeding it back to you at a blinding speed.
The speed is what creates the illusion. It's too much, too fast, but because it feels so incredibly validating, you don't question the pace.
You don't, because your brain is rewarding you for it.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting. The reason it feels so good isn't just emotional, it's literally biological. The research transitions here from psychological tactics to the actual physical impact this has on your brain.
The chemistry of the con.
Yeah, your brain gets chemically addicted to this treatment. We aren't just talking about a bad habit here. We are talking about literal chemistry, utilizing the exact same neural pathways as a substance addiction.
I mean, the human brain is basically a chemical engine, right? And two of its most powerful drivers are dopamine and oxytocin.
The bonding hormone and the reward hormone.
Exactly. Oxytocin is the biological glue. It attaches a mother to a child or partners to one another. It's released during deep eye contact, physical touch, that intense connection.
And then dopamine is the reward predictor.
Yes. It motivates you to seek out things that are necessary for survival. So when someone texts you first every single morning and constantly validates your existence, your brain is receiving massive, continuous surges of both of these chemicals.
So your brain starts categorizing this new person not just as like a fun date, but as a biological necessity.
Precisely. They become essential to your chemical equilibrium.
It reminds me of someone who drinks 3 espresso shots every single morning. Eventually, your brain just stops waking you up naturally.
That's a great analogy.
It stops producing its own baseline level of alertness because it knows the external caffeine is coming.
Yeah.
So in this dynamic, the love bomber is the espresso.
They flood your system with so much validation that your brain actually rewrites its baseline code for happiness.
You stop generating your own joy, and you begin relying entirely on them to regulate your mood, which is terrifying.
It is, because you are experiencing a profound loss of agency without even realizing it. The extreme highs of feeling chosen create a real physiological craving.
So it's no longer just about really liking someone.
No, your body is biologically demanding the chemical high that this specific person is providing. You become chemically tethered to the source of the love bombing.
Wow. So you're no longer making a rational, objective choice to engage with a partner based on mutual respect.
Exactly. Your decision-making process has basically been hijacked by your brain's reward center.
Which sets the stage for the absolute most agonizing part of the cycle. Because once that biological tether is secure, the narcissist slowly, deliberately pulls back.
The manufactured high is abruptly withheld.
And the behaviors described in the texts here are universally agonizing. It's less texting, random coldness, unexplained distance. And the addicted brain goes straight into a state of acute withdrawal.
And withdrawal isn't just a metaphor here. It is the precise medical term for what happens next.
Because the external source of dopamine and oxytocin is suddenly restricted.
Right. Your internal baseline has already been altered by them. So when the drug is removed, your neurotransmitter levels just plummet. The brain enters a state of severe distress.
And this isn't just sadness, is it?
No, it manifests physically. It's anxiety, a racing heart, that awful knot in your stomach. Your nervous system is literally signaling that something essential for your survival has been taken away.
I want to really dig into one specific word you mentioned earlier, or rather that the source material focuses on: random. Random coldness.
Yes, that randomness is key.
Because, if you're listening to this and you've ever found yourself drafting a text message in your notes app, reading it over 10, 15 times.
Oh, agonizing over punctuation.
Changing a period to an exclamation point. Wondering if it sounds too needy before you finally paste it into the actual chat. That is what this phase looks like. You are desperately trying to solve a puzzle.
You're trying to figure out what you did wrong.
Right. But why is the coldness random? If the manipulator has you hooked and they are getting all this adoration and validation from you, why not just enjoy the worship? Why introduce the distance at all?
Because the randomness is the actual mechanism of control. Think about it. If the withdrawal were predictable or permanent, your brain would eventually adapt to the new reality.
Like you would just eventually get over it.
Exactly. You would mourn the loss, recognize a clear pattern of rejection, and eventually walk away. But the manipulator uses a concept called intermittent reinforcement.
Okay, what does that look like in practice?
Well, think about how we interact with everyday machines. If you put $1 into a vending machine, press the button, and nothing comes out, what do?
I might hit the button one more time, get frustrated, and leave. I'm not going to stand there all day losing money.
Right. You accept the machine is broken and you move on. But imagine a different scenario. Imagine a vending machine that works perfectly for a month. It gives you exactly what you want every single time.
The golden period.
Yes. Then one day it eats your dollar. The next day you try again and it gives you 2 candy bars. The day after that, nothing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I would definitely keep trying.
Exactly. Psychological studies show, and this famously originates with B.F. Skinner's research on rats pressing levers, that when a reward is unpredictable, the subject's behavior becomes obsessive.
Because you never know when the jackpot is coming.
Right. You don't walk away from the unpredictably broken machine. You stand there all day feeding it quarters, pressing the button frantically. Getting the reward randomly is the single most powerful way to solidify a compulsive behavior in the brain.
So when they suddenly take hours to reply with a one-word answer, your brain panics. And then 2 days later, they send you a sweet, nostalgic text, and the dopamine just floods back in.
You are the rat in the cage pressing the lever.
Wow. So the sudden lack of approval creates this immediate, desperate need to restore equilibrium. Your brain signals that something is fundamentally wrong with your environment.
Because in this hacked state, their approval feels identical to survival.
And the behavioral consequence of this panic is the chase. The victim just goes into overdrive trying to fix a problem they didn't even create.
You begin apologizing for things that aren't your fault.
Yes. You meticulously analyze your own behavior. Like, did I laugh too loud? Did I share too much? Did I somehow ruin that perfect dynamic we had in month 1?
And the phrase from the psychological profiles that really captures this perfectly is that victims shrink themselves.
Ugh, that phrase gave me such a visceral reaction. Shrink yourself. It's like deciding to cut off pieces of your own personality just to fit into a box that the other person keeps making smaller and smaller.
That's a painfully accurate description.
Right. First, you stop bringing up your own needs so you don't annoy them. Then you apologize for their bad mood, just walking on eggshells so you don't trigger the coldness again.
You fold yourself into this tiny, invisible shape.
Yes, hoping that if you are just compliant enough, that warm, loving person from the first month will come back. It's insane. You're apologizing to someone for their sudden cruelty toward you.
Well, you are describing a zero-sum transfer of power.
A zero-sum game. How so?
Every ounce of energy you spend chasing, apologizing, and analyzing their sudden distance is energy and power transferred directly to the perpetrator.
But why do they need that power so badly?
To understand that, we really have to look at the psychological deficit of the narcissist. You know, narcissism at its core isn't actually about someone having too much self-love.
It's not.
No, it's about a profound, cavernous lack of an internal sense of self. They have a hollow core. They literally cannot regulate their own self-esteem internally. They require continuous external regulation.
Oh, I see. So they are essentially using other people as like external hard drives to run their own ego's operating system.
That is a highly accurate way to conceptualize it. They plug into you to regulate themselves.
But wait, if they just need regulation, why not just accept steady, healthy love?
Because if you just offer them steady, healthy, predictable love, it doesn't prove to them that they have ultimate control. Anyone can receive love.
Right.
But to watch another human being abandon their own boundaries, shrink their identity, and frantically chase them, that active desperation is what proves to the narcissist that they exist, that they matter, and that they hold ultimate power.
Causing the panic is the entire point.
The panic feeds the hollow core.
It's so tragic because the victim isn't even chasing the person standing in front of them anymore. You're chasing a ghost.
You really are.
You aren't pursuing the cold, distant partner who is currently ignoring your texts. You are desperately chasing the chemical memory of the love bomber from month 1, just hoping to resurrect them through your own extreme compliance.
And the narcissist watches this chase, knowing that their mere silence is enough to make you completely dismantle your own identity. It is a highly effective, deeply damaging assertion of dominance.
Which brings us to the climax of the research, and probably the most sobering realization about the intent behind all of this.
Yes, the question of intent.
The psychological consensus here is incredibly blunt. This sequence of events wasn't a tragic accident. This was always the plan.
Always.
So what does this all mean? I have to play devil's advocate here for a second. Is it really a conscious master plan? Like, is there a movie villain sitting in a dark room sketching out a manipulation spreadsheet on a whiteboard? Or are they just deeply insecure, damaged people acting out a subconscious cycle of idealization and devaluation that they don't even fully understand?
It's a very fair question, and the debate over conscious versus subconscious intent is actually a really prominent one in clinical psychology.
Because it's hard to imagine someone being that deliberately evil.
It is. However, what the source text affirms is that whether the perpetrator possesses a literal spreadsheet of manipulation tactics, or they're just operating on a highly refined, instinctual predatory sequence driven by their own trauma, the outcome and the structural reality remain exactly the same.
The damage is the same.
Exactly. The precision of the transition from overwhelming data-gathering affection to calculated intermittent distance implies a profound level of control over the dynamic.
It's not an accident.
No. The early texts, the memorization of your vulnerabilities, the sudden withdrawal, it is a sequential, intended blueprint designed specifically to siphon power from you to them. And the research insists that the victim must view it as a deliberate architecture in order to escape it.
Viewing it as a deliberate architecture, that is exactly what brings us to the antidote. Because understanding these mechanics doesn't just leave you in a dark, cynical place. It brings us to a final, incredibly empowering cognitive shift.
It really is the turning point for recovery.
Yeah. The moment you understand that this entire dynamic was a structural plan, that the coldness was never a reflection of your worth or something you broke or a mistake you made, is the exact moment the cycle loses its power over you.
Because when you are trapped in the cycle, your brain convinces you that you are the variable.
You think, if I just did something differently.
Right. You believe that if you just communicated more clearly, loved more selflessly, or were somehow fundamentally more, the coldness would end and the golden period would return.
But understanding the blueprint removes you from the equation entirely.
Completely. You are merely the target environment for a biological exploit.
It's the ultimate paradigm shift. It wasn't your fault because the game was fundamentally rigged before you even sat down at the table.
The rules were hidden from you.
Your heartbreak wasn't a personal failure. It was the successful execution of an emotional con by someone else. And knowledge of how this works acts as a literal, practical shield. Once you see the strings, you can't unsee the puppet master.
Seeing the pattern in real time is the absolute key to breaking the addiction.
How so, exactly?
Well, once your conscious mind is educated enough to recognize the random coldness, not as a personal rejection that you must fix, but as a deliberate tactic of intermittent reinforcement designed to control you, the emotional panic begins to lose its grip.
Because the mystery is gone.
Exactly. Now, the physical withdrawal will still happen. Your dopamine and oxytocin levels will take time to reset to a healthy baseline.
It's still going to hurt.
It will hurt. But the internal narrative radically changes. You recognize the broken vending machine for what it is.
You stop feeding it quarters.
You stop feeding it quarters. You stop shrinking. You stop chasing.
You realize you don't need to cut pieces off yourself to fit in the box anymore. The moment you see the trap, the nectar stops looking sweet. You finally reclaim your agency.
Because the power a manipulator holds relies entirely on your confusion, your self-blame, and your desperate hope that the love-bombing phase will eventually return.
And recognizing the structural design destroys all of that.
It destroys the confusion, validates that you are not to blame, and eliminates the false hope. It is the definitive path to walking away.
Wow. This deep dive completely reframes the lens through which we view early dating dynamics. It is heavy, but it is deeply vital information for protecting your psychological health.
It's essential armor for modern dating.
It really is. So as we wrap up our analysis today, we want to leave you with a lingering thought to carry with you.
Something to mull over.
Yeah. If our incredibly complex brains can be so easily tricked into a chemical addiction by the carefully planned, accelerated illusion of love bombing, how might we need to entirely reevaluate the way we view those initial butterflies and instant, overwhelming connections at the very start of a new relationship?
We've been culturally conditioned by movies and music to chase that dizzying, anxious excitement.
Right. But Could what we've always been told is magical destiny or love at first sight sometimes actually be your nervous system warning you that you've just entered the first phase of a very well-executed plan? Think about that next time you feel those butterflies. Until next time, keep your eyes open.